What are the downside risks to your global growth outlook?
Yes, we have seen a lot of resilience, but growth is still quite slow and uneven. And the risks to this outlook are still very much on the downside. So when we think about the main risks that we see at this point, I would mention the scope for further slowdown in China as one risk. Another one is just the commodity price volatility related to geopolitical developments or climate shocks. And then, of course, there's the risk that inflation does turn out to be stickier than what we are currently expecting, which would require further action on the part of central banks.
How do you see the Israel-Hamas war impacting global inflation? We've already seen oil prices spike. Global headline inflation has peaked, but do you worry that this conflict could reignite that, seeping into core inflation and prolonging the central bank's fight against global inflation?
Well, first off, I think we're deeply saddened by the loss of life, and we do hope that there is a speedy de-escalation and end of violence. I think it's too early for us to come to a view on the economic impact of what's been happening. We are certainly watching developments very closely. Yes, we have seen some increase in oil prices, and in the past, when in the event of geopolitical conflict, we have seen a lot of volatility in markets. Now, again, we're not we cannot say that right now, but it's certainly a risk that we are going to be watching. And just in terms of the rule of thumb, how we think about the impact of oil prices on inflation, a 10% increase in oil prices that is sustained is expected, then that would translate into inflation, high inflation at the global level of 0.4. So again, this is not about predicting the impact of the current situation, but just in general, if one were to see a sustained increase in oil prices, these are the sort of magnitudes that we can think of.
You mentioned China. You've lowered your outlook for China and the world's second largest economy dealing with a major property crisis. In fact, this morning we're learning that Evergrande, one of the property lenders, is reportedly on the verge of collapse. It's restructuring, I should say. Country Garden, another property lender, now saying it won't be able to pay some U.S. dollar-denominated debts. What is the risk that this property sector crisis develops into a full-blown financial crisis? And what is the prospect of contagion?
Well, we have downgraded our forecast for China, and part of that has been due to the impact of the ongoing real estate crisis. And the question is, again, to what extent that would have broader implications. We do think that the authorities have the necessary tools to handle the ongoing situation. They've taken a lot of measures so far in the real estate market. They've been mostly on the demand side, and our recommendation has been to take action on the supply side to restructure, to really solve the problem in the real estate market. Now, the implications at this stage are what we have in our baseline, but of course we are hoping that once the risks are addressed, we're not going to end up in a situation with contagion within China and beyond.